Hey guys, welcome back to Salem the Crafting MMO, and that's right, GamerZakh here, and I'm returning to tutorial videos for Salem. And well, basically, the last time I made Salem tutorial guide videos was back in 2012, and that was a long time ago, and a lot of things have changed since then. So this time I'm going to be going through some things again, revamping my tutorial videos. I won't be deleting the old videos, of course, but the playlist will be updated with new videos which I'm making for the game, because as you might know, the game is actually releasing. Well, not that the game is gonna stop being developed, but it will be sort of going gold and going to be released and all of that. So what I'm gonna be doing this time is not so much tutorials on individual skills. Like, I won't be doing like how to use a fireplace, how to dry skins, how to build a house or anything like that. But what I'm gonna be doing is how you should be playing the game in terms of phases. So this is the getting started video. So as you can see here, this is sort of what you're gonna be going for at the start of the game, where you're sort of got a little bit of a settlement, you got some stuff in your inventory, you've got a bunch of skills leveled up, and your humors are sort of raised a little bit. But basically this is a getting started video, so that means we gotta go do the tutorial. So let me log out and create a new character from the main menu. Alright, you just have to click new character right here on the main screen. Go ahead and click that, and it will put you into this little area here. Now, if the last time you played this game was back in 2012 or even 2014, last year, this doesn't even look the same. But the reason why I'm going through this again is because there's a whole new tutorial section. But after character creation, I'm going to give you a few things on what you should and should know about the game. So let's go ahead and click here. So if you're a girl, click on that guy. If you're a boy, click on this guy. I'm a boy, so let's go ahead and continue here. Pathfinding. Yeah, there is no pathfinding here. You gotta click things specifically. So character creation, pretty straightforward. It's still pretty much the same. You can choose your hair color.
You're looking fabulous.
I'm looking fabulous, he says. So let's go ahead and let's take gray hair here, I guess. And something. I suppose I've never created a character that looks aristocratic, really. So let's go ahead and pick something that looks a little aristocratic. Gray hair, clean little thing like that. Okay, good. And over here, this is facial hair. And ooh, that already looks good. I'm gonna go for that. So, probably the most confusing part of the game is you gotta talk to this guy to give your name.
What you be calling yourself? I ain't got all day.
Gamer aristocrat, because I don't know, that's what I'm going for. Anyway, here's again the confusing part of the game. You gotta press enter here in case you don't know. There's no accept button. I still don't know why there's no accept button there, but I'm gonna press enter there. There we go. And you can click on this boat to go to the new world. Now, this is the part which, actually, what's that guy? Oh, last will inheritances. Oh, right. So I better point this guy out. This guy's actually a new dude over here. This guy. If your previous character died, you can talk to this guy, and you can inherit character's property, and also there's some burial rights and stuff like that to help you level back up to where you used to be. So permadeath in this game is not as harsh as it used to be. But let's go ahead and click on the boat to head to the new world, and you're gonna see what's really changed about starting out in Salem. Alright, here we go. This little bit is a bit different. So, speak with me to pay off your debts and be free.
The only thing between you and the new world, it's a handful of silver. Pay up and off you go.
There's some voice acting, as you can see here, and we got all grey faces here. But 200 silver, show bank account.
Oh my. Short on silver, you say? Well, I have a solution for that.
You seem to lack silver for your journey. Speak to Chief Lenderhand and see if you can work something out. So, let's talk to Chief Lenderhand.
Oh, goodness me.
Oh, look at that.
It appears Chief Lenderhand has paid your passage to the new world. But as with most things in Salem, everything comes at a cost. His tribe requires that you assist them in some of their daily chores before you are to be released. While in his tribal valley, you will be safe from the majority of dangers in Salem. But once freed and on your own, that will all change. To begin, he asked that you feed their sacred squonk, Nubs, a hickory nut. You should do so now.
Right, so as you can see, there is like a full-on tutorial here, so basically while I'm doing this tutorial, I'm going to also tell you about a few things that you should and shouldn't know about this game. So why isn't there any music going on? Music volume is up, but no music right now. Anyway. There's usually some music here anyway. So, let's see. So we're supposed to feed this Nubs dude some food. So, let's see. We can pick nuts from these trees over here. And there we go. There we go. Some music has started up. Good. So, let's go ahead and do the first mission here before I get into telling you some stuff. Let's take hickory nuts. Now, is it left click or right click?
Excellent! But gathering resources from trees and bushes is not the only way to harvest materials. Sometimes it is as simple as collecting something from the ground. Now that Nubs has a full belly, he's feeling particularly playful and wishes to play with a tumbleweed. Gather a tumbleweed rolling on the ground in the area and bring it to Nubs.
Alright, so talking about Salem, for those of you who don't know about Salem or who have forgotten basically what it's all about, here are some things that you need to know before you actually get into the game. So first of all, there's a lot of things to learn. Now, I don't mean just about learning skills or things like that. Like, as you can see here, if I open up the skills menu, you don't see much, but look at this. This is just, what are we even looking at? I have no idea. And there's this inventory thing, and it's like, if you mouse over things, it's got unused slots, and there's this gluttony system over here. It's like you can click this and what's this, gobble points? I don't know. Well, there's just so much to learn in this game. And basically, you have to take things one step at a time. You can't rush into the game. This is not a fast-paced sort of run and gun sort of explosion-y game. You are supposed to be taking your time to play through the game, and it really is the process of playing and also the community and society of Salem, which is the point of the game, right? So, next thing you gotta know, there is permadeath in this game. Basically, if your character dies, it is gone forever. Your inventory drops, people loot your body, and all the skills that you have learned are gone. But there are some inheritance systems, as I mentioned earlier. You can inherit your land. You can also, of course, in your land, you can store things for your next character as sort of a backup. And also there's burial rites, a skill now where if you get your old body and bury it properly, well, you can sort of visit the grave every day. And every day you visit the grave, your new character will sort of slightly level up towards where your old character was. So there's that. And there's also like a last will and testament and really more better sort of inheritance systems, but it takes a bit of investment. And now, I should mention that if you travel out into the wild, now not here, this is the tutorial area, but once you're in the game, if you travel out into the wild, then things are going to try and kill you. There's bears, there's snakes, there's cougars, not even mentioning other players. And things, snakes are poisonous, one bite and poison will knock you out, your inventory will drop, you'll have to, they don't kill you, wild animals don't kill you, but if you go far enough into the wilderness, you'll encounter the darkness, and in the darkness there are monsters, and possibly even witches, which are other players with magical powers and curses and stuff like that. So basically, it's a dangerous world. You can't just sort of walk out. Things will get you, and some things you can run away from, but bears and cougars are fast. Another thing you need to know is that there is no win state for this game. This is not like an MMO where there are big bosses to fight or objectives or things like that. It's open world. It's sandbox. Like right now, I've got some tutorial objectives, but outside of this, there are no objectives. There is no win state. There's no way to be the best. There's no way to conquer the lands and stay there forever. There's no way to do that, right? So don't even try. It is, as I said before, the experience of playing the game, which is really what people are supposed to be here for. So if you don't like the experience of playing Salem, then that's sort of defeating the purpose. And finally, I should mention that this game is not for everyone, but it's like any other MMO. If you have some friends to play with or join a community online, like on the forums, you can find towns and communities to join. If you group up with a bunch of people or play with your friends, the game is of course much more fun. So, those are the basic things that you need to know. Let's go ahead and grab this tumbleweed here. So, and I gotta bring it back to Nubs, this little creature over here. So, let me bring you through the tutorial. And while we do this, let me go ahead and go to the video settings. And I'm gonna put on freestyle camera because I just want to show off. Because they have recently put in a skybox. So this all used to be pure black. So I mean, you can see it's not the perfect skybox. I mean, you can see that line right there. But putting in the skybox looks really nice. And I'm gonna just sort of scroll around like that. Now, we got this tumbleweed. Let's go ahead and give it to Nubs. Just right click on it.
It appears Nubs is now satisfied with a full belly and a playful toy. The chief would like to remind you that all material things in Salem can be taken from you, most especially by other pilgrims. The only thing a man cannot steal from you is your mind and your experiences. To emphasize this wisdom, he asks that you learn your first skill, childish things.
Alright, so here we get the first learning thing. This thing is a little complicated, but we'll keep it simple for now. Childish things, they give you the free sort of level up. You can see to learn this thing, you gotta raise this bar here. So different skills require different proficiencies, you can see over here. So, but childish things, let's go ahead and grab this. You can see learning childish things will unlock some new crafts and will also unlock the game hint on studying. So let's buy that.
Well done! Each skill you learn will unlock new buildings, craftables, and skills that can further your advancement. Education is not always easy, nor free. Many times you must study the world around you to gain a respect and understanding of it. The chief asks that you next learn survival skills. However, in order to do so, you first must gather or craft items known as inspirationals. Study them, and then spend the accumulated points on the skill.
Right, so as you can see, to raise the bar, for childish things they gave you the sort of free bar there, but to learn survival skills you can see it's going to require 200 in flora and fauna and 200 in hunting and hide working. So let's go ahead and grab some things here. Bring the menus over. All these menus are, you can move them around and everything. Even the map, you can move it around. You can even resize the map actually, which is usually a good idea. Oh, don't walk over there. You can click on the map to sort of travel. So let's move this, make it a bit bigger. It doesn't have to be too big because we can't see that far anyway. So now, as you can see here, I picked up a stray chestnut, and for some items, not all, you can see this hickory nut doesn't give me any bars here. This stone does, and this chestnut also does. And you can see on the map there's plenty of these chestnuts, so this is quite a common thing. So as you can see here, I need to, if I study the chestnut, if I stare at the chestnut long enough, it will give me sort of these bars. So let's go ahead, we could eat it as well, but let's study it. Indeed. And as you can see, this blue bar, it's sort of what it's given us. And this red bar is a requirement for survival skills, and by studying it, it's actually taken up a bit of our black bile over here. You can see there's blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile up here. These are your humans. It's sort of 4 different energies. Blood is basically health, phlegm is sort of energy, yellow bile is your combat energy and combat damage, and black bile is to do with studying and crafting and things like that. So studying took up the black one. But it's given us enough for survival skills, so let's go ahead and buy that.
Uh-oh, it looks like you have just lost black bile studying that inspirational. One of the 4 humours that governs our bodies, your black bile governs your mental energies of sorts. There are several ways to replenish your humours in the world, but the simplest is always just to nourish your body with some nice food. Gather some berries, nuts, or other food from the area and consume it.
Right, so this tutorial is teaching us how to eat. So as you can see here, eating this hickory nut, which I picked up earlier, which is not inspirational, as you can see. It doesn't actually take up anything. It doesn't, well, we can't use it for studying is what I'm trying to say. This hickory nut, let's go ahead and eat that.
Ah, your mind is fresh, your muscles ready, and your willpower has never been stronger. The chief wishes for you to construct your first permanent object in Salem. Here, everything you build on claimed land lasts forever, or until another pilgrim decides to rip it down. His tribe has been gathering fish and drying them on drying racks. While you yourself lack the fishing skill, that does not mean you cannot help by building them another drying rack. Gather the branches from a nearby tree and construct a drying rack in the tribal lands.
So there we go. We're now going to build something. So you can see those down here. These are all your sort of commands here. There's a few cool ones. Basically, it's your craft, your combat. We got emotes as well. For example, we can laugh. We can laugh there. There we go. Laughing. The emotes are pretty cool. But let's go ahead and with our mission, we're supposed to build a drying rack. And you can see this sort of thing. This thing's a drying rack, right? So one good tip about building things is you sort of have to kind of figure out what you're supposed to need for it. Because here's a problem, right? If you place down the drying rack, I'm going to place it there. It takes up black bile immediately. But if you can't put anything into here, like right now I can't build it, it needs 5 branches, you can see that. If I walk away, that signpost disappears. So I'm gonna pick 5 branches here. 1. Oh, that's a special one. I'll explain that in a bit. There we go, we got 6 branches, but you can see one of them is slightly different from the others. This broken bough is quite important actually. As you can see here, it raises a little bit in a lot of things, which is going to be useful for this thing right here. But we'll get to that later. We got 5 normal branches. So here's the problem. I placed down that drying rack earlier, and it took up my black bile, and now the signpost is gone. So I'm going to have to place it down again. Now here's a few tricks, right? You can use if you hold shift and mouse wheel, you can rotate these objects, so don't worry. It snaps to a grid, so it's always sort of safe. But you can rotate it in a way you like. Let's put this down. There we go, and you can see it's taken up more black bile. So a simple way of doing this is to drag the branches over. You could use a mouse wheel, but because I have this broken bough here, if I use a mouse wheel, it might take the broken bough, and then if it does that, it doesn't mean if I take it back, it might just become a normal branch. These sort of inspirationals are a little weird. They're sort of considered rare items. So when that happens, just sort of click and click, normal clicks over. And once you get 5 out of 5 in that, we can build it.
Since your next task requires you to chop wood, you will need an axe. Craft a basic flint axe and equip it to prepare you for your next task.
So, the voices are a little quiet there, but never mind. So, craft a basic flint axe is the next thing. And see these tumbleweeds? Whenever you see them, you should just sort of grab them. They're quite good. Because if you see the quality of it, it raises quite a lot of things. So, let's see. We do need to get a bit more food. Luckily, these are all hickory nuts here. We can just sort of pick as many as we like from these trees and eat them. There we go. Takes a bit of time for it to fill up. Now, we need to create a flint axe. So this one is a little easier to check. We can go to craft. You can see that I went to craft and tools. And there's a flint axe there. And it brings up the menu. Okay, so perfect. You can see here it needs a branch and a piece of flint, and it highlights green if you have those ingredients. So you can see the broken bough is actually considered one of these things. But I don't want the broken bough to be considered one of those things. So see, the problem is here. This is where things get a little bit complicated. Craft, tools, flint axe. Let's see if I can get around it. Okay, there. I redid it, and it prioritized the weaker items. So let's see if I press craft, it should use the normal branch. And here we go.
Many resources can be harvested in Salem. Trees, boulders, bushes, just to name a few. It is these renewable resources that keep the inhabitants of Salem healthy, happy and busy. Well, perhaps just busy. Regardless, Lore of the Lumberwoods will teach you what is necessary to chop down trees for processing. Learn it now.
So there we go. It's asking us to learn Lore of the Lumberwoods. I'm just picking some berries here. And since we do have this axe, I can Control E to bring up equipment. And I can equip this axe in one of my hands. There we go. So it doesn't take up inventory space. It's taken up there. And we've got lots of food here, lots of berries to do things like that. So let's have a look at, let's hide that window. Let's have a look at Lore of the Lumberwoods. This is sort of the next thing we got to learn. It doesn't take too much. Would a chestnut do it? It will. So let's go ahead and study the chestnut. And we'll learn Lore of the Lumberwoods.
The chief wants you to throw a wood block on his sacred fire. Once you leave this place, a fire will be your friend. And both starting and maintaining your own fire will be crucial to your survival. For now, throw a woodblock on the fire. You may obtain a woodblock from chopping trees, fallen logs, or piles of wood in the area.
So, then for this one, throw a block of wood on sacred fire. This is a nice tutorial on how to sort of get things. We can chop wood because we have the axe equipped. If we didn't have the axe equipped, then you'll see. I think if we just sort of put it there, we won't be able to chop wood. Oh, we can chop wood. Can we? Oh no, you need an axe to do that. Okay, so we need to equip the axe, and we can go ahead and chop wood. We just need a bit. Blocks of wood are heavy. You can see our weight is carried down there, 5.77 out of 10 kilos. So we're sort of getting there. That little chopping thing actually gave us 3 blocks of wood. So let's go ahead and put this block of wood on the sacred fire. And we're going to grab that and just going to right click onto this fire here.
Oh my! All that manual labour has reduced your phlegm. Just as you recovered your black bile when studying things, you will need to recover your phlegm when you're exhausted from work. Go ahead and do so now.
Yep, chopping the blocks of wood, which I think I will drop. I think if I control click items, it'll just drop it on the spot rather than having to use the mouse, moving it over. And we're going to eat a bit of blackberries here to restore our phlegm because that was physical labor. You can see physical labor took up this blue bar, which was the phlegm bar. And not the black bile bar. So let's eat these blackberries.
Current humour values are important, but certainly one wishes to grow stronger, run faster, jump higher, and simply do more. To do this, you must increase the maximum humours of your character. This is done only by the most successful of players who can afford the luxury of gluttony. The mass consumption of food in a particular humour will permanently increase it. The higher you go, the more food you will need. Find some food and increase one of your humours.
Alright, so now this is one of the most complicated bits of Salem. Now, it does get really, really deep, but you don't have to worry too much about it. Hold on, I'm just sort of looking at that tumbleweed over there. Yes, I want this tumbleweed. Now, gluttony and humours is really, really complicated, but it doesn't have to be complicated at the start. So basically, if you mouse over a bit of food, you can see there's a heals, right? I'm not sure if it's big enough on the screen, but when you do mouse over, you can see it heals 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, but then there's also when gobbled, and you can see it gives different values there. So when gobbled, like this one gives 5 to 7, the straight chestnut gives 5 to 7 in the red one, but the blackberries give 5 to 6 in the gray one. So this can only be done, you can only eat things when, and the hickory nut gives varying amounts, right? So you got to check those numbers. There are some foods which have even numbers, which we will be focusing on at the start, but this is basically how gluttony works. So I'm gonna click on this little bar here, and it brings a little fork out, and we got gobble points, right? So if I eat this bit of blackberry, like if I mouse over, you can see it highlights different bars. If it highlights the bar to full, it means it will increase that to the next level. And you can see right now, all of my humours, all blood, phlegm, yellow, bile, and black bile are at 5. If I eat this blackberry, it's gonna increase my black bile by 1 because it hits the maximum number. So I'm gonna click on that.
So far your skills
There we go.
quite easy. Each one was less than 500 points and thus was obtainable by a few quick studies. However, to advance to colonial tradesmanship, you will notice that it requires more points than its accompanying proficiency bars can hold. Just as the player can expand their maximum humours, one can also expand the maximum proficiencies as well. To do so, just fill the bar completely up and press the plus sign next to it. This will cause all your points to be removed, but will allow for you to permanently hold more points in the future, and thus open even stronger and more valuable skills.
Alright, now, I'm going really slow here, and he kind of skipped ahead to the next point. So basically here, this humour thing, you can see here berries is 50%. It means if you eat the same thing again, the same category of items again, it's like you get a bit full, right? We have a word for that in where I'm from. Where I'm from, it's Malaysia. We have a word for that, it's called muak. It's basically M-U-A-K. And basically it's sort of a full and fed up sort of feeling. You're just kind of sick of eating that kind of food. You ate too much salty stuff, you want something sweet. You ate too much sweet stuff, you want something savory, that sort of thing. So gluttony doesn't work if you just keep eating the same thing again. But you can see here, straight chestnuts, it doesn't count as a berry. So if I go ahead and eat a chestnut instead, it will go ahead and add a nuts and seeds thing there. And you can see this hickory nut is going to have half its effect. So there's nothing else I can eat which is really going to be worth it at this point. So I'm just going to cancel gluttony, but we've got 2 points there. And you can see here, if you can see the numbers, our maximum for blood and black bile are now 6. You can see those 3 numbers. Basically, it's sort of the current number, the max, well, basically the one on the right is the maximum number, and you can just look at the bars for a nice guide. And over here you can see I'm full and fed up for 9 minutes, which means I can't go into gluttony mode again for 9 more minutes. So you can imagine that's 9 minutes is quite a while for these low levels where I just eat 1 or 2 things. Imagine for higher levels, it takes hours, if not days, to wear off. So now, on to what he was talking about, getting the next skill, colonial tradesmanship. Now you can see here one has this really red bar on flora and fauna. It means that we need 600 flora and fauna, but our maximum for that is only 500. So we gotta study a couple things to sort of boost that up. Now, here's a little neat trick for studying and to boosting these proficiencies. You can see here, if I study the tumbleweed, it doesn't just max out 1, it maxes out quite a few things. So I'm gonna study this tumbleweed. There we go, and you can see it's turned a lot of bars green, and sometimes it's worth it to study some other things, but in this case I'm not gonna. But you can see here, these 3 bars here are green, these 2 are also green. Now, this plus symbol allows us to increase the maximum value here. So the one that I click on is going to increase by 200, but everything else that is also at a full bar, those will all increase by 100. So stacking them up like this is going to be quite beneficial. Increasing the max for all of these eventually is required anyway. So I need 600 for flora and fauna, so I don't actually have to click on flora and fauna to increase it by 200. I might want something else. If I have a look at some other things, is there anything immediately that I need 700 for? I don't think so. They all sort of require below certain amounts at this point. So might as well click on flora and fauna. This is going to go up to 700.
Excellent.
There we go.
The chief has decided it is time for your final and most important vision quest. He has asked that you learn colonial tradesmanship, a skill that will unlock skills to a variety of industries. Remember, there is safety in numbers, and joining a town in the harsh world of Salem can be one of your best tools for survival. To join one, you will want to specialise in a trade so that you have something meaningful to offer the prospective villagers you encounter. Once you have increased your flora and fauna proficiency to at least 6, you will be able to fill your proficiency bars to meet the requirements for the colonial tradesmanship skill. Study some appropriate inspirationals and learn it to move on.
So basically what he's saying is generally I'm in contact with the developer of this game, John Carver. You can find him on the forums, and he basically said that no one has been able to learn all of these skills. You can see every time we learn something new, it just unlocks even more, and that's sort of the nature of the game. And he said that if anyone gets close to learning all the skills, they're just going to add in more. So no one's going to be a master of everything in this game. It's practically impossible, right? Even these studying things, you can see these inspiration points down here. You start at about like 250,000, but every time you study something, like if I want to study this straight chestnut, inspiration required is 1,720. So if I study it, this drops by 1,700. That might not seem like a lot, but the higher things you study, for example, this broken bow, takes 2,700, and some things like this tumbleweed takes almost 6,000 inspiration. So studying a few things, you can run out of inspiration within the day. So now, colonial tradesmanship. I got a couple straight chestnuts here. We got to study a couple of them. Let's study that. And let's study another one. And now we can get colonial tradesmanship. Oh, and just in case you didn't notice, you can see my flora and fauna is at 700, and all those other bars that were full, they're now 600. Cloak and dagger, faith and wisdom, 600. Stocks and cultivars, 600. Natural philosophy, 600. That's sort of a great way to boost all of these at once. But we can now afford colonial tradesmanship from studying a couple chestnuts. Let's buy that.
Congratulations! The chief is impressed by your will to survive and feels you will be a good candidate for this harsh new world. He officially releases you from your debt. A guide to the north of the village waits with his canoe to take you into the wilderness to the location of your first homestead. If you don't like the first spot, he will gladly show you a few more. Talk to the guide to leave the tribal lands.
Alright, so here's a nice thing to do. This tutorial area, basically you can stay here forever. You don't actually have to go into the MMO realm and face other people and do all the nasty things of dealing with everything. So you can actually stay here and pretty much level up a lot of different things. You can go ahead and level up a whole bunch of stuff before even entering the new world. But I can tell you that entering the new world and actually getting into the multiplayer scene there's a lot more resources and a lot more area to explore. You can see here, this is quite a cramped space. It looks like a lot, but if I just sort of look over, it sort of ends over there. There's sort of a cliff, and basically it sort of runs out of things to harvest here. So staying here is gonna be not as beneficial and not as quick. And ooh, here's a new addition to the game. What are these things? A little bit of reeds here. I'm just gonna grab some of that. There you go. See, it's new. It's got question marks. Take some time. Sturdy reed and normal reeds. Okay, is sturdy reeds inspiration? No, they're just sort of things. Okay, so you can stay here and level up, and you can see there's a smooth stone there and things to collect, but generally you don't have to, and getting into the game really is the best way to do it. So this little guide by the water here, he's going to bring us on a little canoe to take us where we want to go and give us a spot in the new world. So let's go ahead and talk to him. So there we go, we're gonna travel over to the Providence server and go have a look at what's going on over there. So this is how this is gonna work. Basically, it drops you into a random location in the world, and I think they got a few algorithms to sort of say that the area you're dropped in is generally good in some ways. So you can see there's all sorts of things to collect in the immediate area, but looking at this area, you sort of have to try and find good spots, and generally you're looking for something with a mix of a lot of biomes, so you can easily access different biomes. So you can see there's sort of a dark sort of foresty thing over there, and this is sort of a more swampy sort of foresty thing, and there's a tiny bit of grassland there, but generally this doesn't look like a very interesting landscape. And these rivers here, you can't swim across these rivers until you get the swimming skill, so this is actually quite restrictive. So you do get a few tries, but you can't go back, so be careful. So this is not fine for me. I'm gonna press try again and see where it dumps me. Now, this is slightly more interesting. You can see it's a bit more open. Red forest, this sort of autumny forest, is actually really good. There's chestnuts, there's berries, there's lots of things here. But again, look at this on the map. There's some guy's settlement there. So that's probably not such a good idea. Because we don't have to stay here. We can move away and build this sort of base wherever we like, but we want to try and make the most of a nice good starting position. So let's go ahead and try again. We got 3 more tries. So let's try again. Now this is an interesting setup. It's kind of like the first, but a little bit more open over on this side. This river means we're not crossing over to that side anytime soon. So we got grassland, we got a bit of swampland, we got sort of a foresty thing, but again, this brown thing is sort of a barren sort of grassland, and I don't really like how this stuff looks. So let's go ahead and try again. We got 2 more tries. And this one looks again, but again it's swamp. We're getting a lot of swamps this time. It is sort of random really. And this is a bit of a cliffy area. So again, this is, all areas are sort of okay, but generally I got 1 more try and I haven't seen anything really amazing so far. So what's the harm of trying 1 more time? So let's go ahead and try again.
Greetings, pilgrim. Welcome to Salem. As you journey out in this world, remember these words. You are about to start on an adventure, to begin an experience unlike any other. Everything will be difficult. Nothing will be simple. And with each tiny moment of triumph, you will have blazed a trail scattered with defeat, blood and tears. Salem is a full loot, full PvP, permadeath sandbox, where even in the starting town, you will be susceptible to disease, witchcraft, explosives, and even death if you're not careful. Every pilgrim you meet in Salem will know this, and thus every true friendship you forge will be worth that of countless others you may have experienced in similar games. Salem is not a place for the weak or entitled. Salem is a haven for those who long to be challenged and miss the pure innocence and euphoria of discovery, risk, exploration, and interaction. The world is in a constant state of flux, the politics a sea of chaos, and the stakes have never been higher. Good luck!
So there you have it. He said it as best as I could have, really. And this starting area turns out to be really, really nice. Because we got this dark forest here, we got this autumny red forest here, we got this sort of green swampy land over there. We don't have any grassland, but we got a bit of water there, and this bit of desert over here. So actually, this is a really nice, interesting location to sort of have a base to. Now, this lean-to thing, this thing here is called a lean-to. It's gonna be basically a teleport point. You can always build a new one and at any time sort of relocate somewhere else. But this teleport point, basically when you're near this thing, you can teleport to the main city. The only way to teleport to the main city if you're away from this thing is to empty your inventory. So it's not always that bad of a thing. And since our black bar's a bit low there, I'm gonna go ahead and eat one of these blackberries here. Okay, eat that. So, near this teleport point, let's go ahead and we can press this adventure button down here. We can travel. You can see we can travel to home or to Providence. If we're in the Providence territory, we can travel back to this point at any time, as long as someone doesn't come along and destroy this thing, which is entirely possible. But for now, let's travel to Providence. And let's see if we can see something that you should be on the lookout for. Let's see, let's zoom out. Anyone around here? One of the first things you might notice are the myriad of dead bodies and skeletons. And you can see that's not always a good thing. Basically, in this game, you can get sick, and diseases are contagious and quite deadly unless you can get a cure on time. So if you can see someone coughing, stay away from them. And if you see a body on the ground which looks like they died from sickness, again, stay away from them. Now, basically, I'm gonna just let you know of what your rough goals should be. You should come in and explore this town by yourself, and you can see there's quite a lot to see, really. You can see some high-level people walking around, and you can see the masses of dead bodies here. Someone's on cleanup crew just sort of arranging them. So I think to express the feeling of Salem, I'm gonna go ahead and stand near these skeletons here. Quite nice, sort of. But anyway, this starting city is quite useful because you can see over there, let's hide this. Over there, there's a bunch of berry things you can collect from. They're usually harvested quite regularly, but you can find some food there quite easily. And if you search around this area, generally murder does not happen in this sort of Providence area. In the lower left corner, you can actually click on display town claims, and you can see everything sort of turns orange. That means you are inside this town, Providence. And this starting town, Providence, is generally quite safe, though it is not safe from wild animals or diseases or things like that. But it is surrounded by some nice starting collectibles. Like if you head sort of north up here, you're going to find a forest. And in this forest, you're going to find basically spiders and spider webs and collectibles and mushrooms and all sorts of cool things. So basically, what should you do from here once you've been through the tutorial and had a look around and not died yet and all of that? Well, basically, the first thing you should do is head for all your tier 1 skills. Now, what are tier 1 skills? Well, you can find a sort of a skill tech tree online, which I'll probably overlay onto this video here. But let's have a look. Tier 1 skills are basically you start with childish things. There we go. We got our survival skills. Yep, good. We got our colonial tradesmanship. Okay, and we got our lore of the lumberwoods, which means basically what you should be going for next is fishing, which as you can see is not that difficult to get. We could actually probably get that pretty close, but it just requires thread and needle, which if you can find a cobweb up in this forest here where all the spiders are, don't worry, the spiders are not dangerous. They look scary, but they're completely harmless. If you can find a cobweb somewhere, that'll give you the thread and needle required for fishing, And after that, the next thing you should sort of get is the next, self-defense, which again, pretty easy to get if you can get some sparks and embers. Generally, you got to craft some items for that. That one you got to go down here and craft and look at inspirationals. There we go. And you can see, you can craft something like this, captivating flame. You can get some tinder, which is like grass, 2 branches and a maple leaf, and that will give you your sparks and embers. So those are quite easy to do. Crafting like that is just like crafting the axe. You just sort of bring up the recipe and there you go. So again, you should probably be trying to specialize. If you're planning on being a farmer, you should be a farmer. If you want to be a warrior, you should go for your combat skills like self-defense, and then further on you can see down here it's whittling, cooking. Obviously, because gluttony is such a big part of the game, people who can produce high-level foods are in high demand, and you can sell your food for money and stuff like that to other players. And you can see all sorts of things here which are quite, you don't really know what to go for, so just sort of get fishing, you can get self-defense, and just explore, get used to the game. And in the next video I'll talk about where we should be going specifically with these skills, because the way I'm gonna be doing these tutorials is gonna be basically in terms of phases. So basically this has been the getting started guide, and this should pretty much get you into the game. You've had a look at the game and see what it's like and what things are. You've had a look around and you basically know, I've been given this sort of basics tutorial on how to play the game, so you shouldn't have any confusion starting out. But don't worry if you have confusion getting into the rest of this stuff, because it gets really complicated. So really don't feel bad if you get confused. Just sort of take things slow, one step at a time. And probably if you're starting out, once you've explored the game, hopefully been through all my tutorials, then at that point you can sort of ask around on the forums and ask if you can join people's towns and claims and stuff like that. So once you're part of a community, it'll be much better. So that basically wraps up my getting started video. It's probably going to be the longest video of all the tutorials because we had to go through the actual tutorial phase and everything. But there we go. Remember to check out the link in the description down below. It is a referral link, but it just leads you to Salem, so you can use that link and then sign up for Salem. And it supports me, it supports the channel, and supports Salem. And it doesn't really change anything for you. If you're going to sign up for the game, might as well use the link down below. But besides that, if there's nothing else, I think. So yeah, that's basically it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.